Welcome everyone to the Djangonaut Space Showcase for Session 6, where we celebrate the Djangonauts and what they've learned. We're here to celebrate their wins, honor their personal growth, and recognize the effort and courage that they put in over these 8 weeks of contributing to Django, the ecosystem, and Beware this time. So this is a series of lightning talks from several of our Djangonauts. There's going to be 5 minutes or less. And so the people we will be hearing from are Brian, Rodrigo, JekayinOluwa, and Victoria.
So hi everyone. I'm Rodrigo. I'm from Brazil, and I joined this session 6 in the Jupyter team, which works on Django core, right? Like ORM and admin and so on. And I'll talk a little bit about my experience. And so the reason why I'm showing this YouTube video here is that this video was a link we got in our workbook when we started the session. And it's a video from Ryan Chelly. And in this video, he explained how he fixed an ORM bug. And also, the way he works is by making notes of his discoveries, what he tried, what worked, what didn't work. It's like a journal, right? And I thought that was really cool, really nice idea. Especially because, when we work on this kind of issues in our spare time, so to speak, sometimes we spend a few days in between sessions. So it's good to have a place where I can come back and remember what we're doing and so on, right? So I decided to start taking notes. And from there, I decided to actually transform these notes on a blog, right? So I created this blog called Djangonaut Diaries on dev.to, just to start writing down what I was doing. First blog post was just writing down how I managed to get Django to run on my machine and to debug it, right? And I had some issues because I'm using Fedora. There was some missing libraries, so I had some issues, and so I wrote everything down. And from there, I start working on my first PR, right, which is this one here, so the thing is, suppose that you're on Django admin and you want to delete an object, right, like a blog post. And when I click on delete, we see this confirmation window, right? Are you sure you want to delete this? Because it has this child, just write this node, child node, and you can say, okay, I'm sure. But the problem is when you click on an object that has a lot of children like this, the button goes all the way down, right? So it downloads like maybe 1 megabyte of text to show the button at the bottom. And this issue was 17 years old. And in a way, I was like, okay, maybe if it's been around for 17 years, it's not really important. People don't really care about this. Maybe it's not very common. But at the same time, I was a bit annoyed with this because I work on a system on my day job that we actually see this kind of thing here, and it annoys me a little bit. So I thought, okay, maybe it could be good to work on it. And then I started working on it. I created the PR. The first approval was actually pretty fast from a fellow, right? But then we started discussing a little bit about some UI options, like, okay, how should we truncate this list? Should we do it by object? Should it be a global thing? And then it was suggested to go to the Django forum to ask, right? And the funny thing is that so I wrote a message there asking, showing the options and so on. And the funny thing here is that the first message was asking, okay, should we really be doing this thing? Maybe we should just scrap this ticket on track. Because and at first I was a bit like, come on, it's my baby, I wanna finish this, But then after a while, I noticed that actually it makes sense, right? And then I wrote my latest blog post was about this thing, actually, about what happens when you post something and people tell you maybe you shouldn't be doing, right? Because I think the learning from this is that, when you're working on a project like Django, that, for example, to implement this, it's a new setting on the model admin, right? It means this setting will have to be maintained for 20 years. I don't know, right? Maybe in 10 years, somebody decides to change the screen and they'll have to remember of the setting and do a special test for it, right? So the thing is, it has this high cost of ownership and maintenance, right, for every new setting in Django. So maybe it makes sense to not implement it, right? So it's a bit like, in our day jobs, when we decide to do something, we say, yeah, sure, why not? But maybe in big projects like Django, the question is a bit like, why yes? Why should we really do this, right? And the cool thing is that it survived this process, this test. Two fellows chimed in and say, no, I think it's useful because it's a question of accessibility and so on. And it survived the test. So I'm glad that it survived. And actually yesterday, the PR was approved again. So now I can just prepare the commits. That's another thing I learned, use a lot of rebase and stuff to make the commits in a way that makes sense for the future. If a bug appears and so on. So maybe now it's gonna be released soon. So yeah, so I invite people to have a look at my writings there if you like. I also talk a little bit about use of AI, because since Django takes a while in between reviews, it may take days, weeks. It's actually good that we have time to think, because in our day job we don't really have that time. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Yes. So next up is JekayinOluwa.
Hi everyone, I'm JekayinOluwa from Nigeria, and I will be sharing my experience in the Djangonaut Space program. Firstly, the program was made up of amazing people. I had an awesome navigator to work with, a great captain on the team Neptune, and my fellow Djangonauts also amazing teammates, Irene and Daniel. Our captain Nathan was very helpful all through the program, offering insights and guidance on how to uh, take the best opportunities out of the program. And also my navigator, Fabian, was also helpful right from day one. In fact, setting up my Django CMS project, we worked on Simulaton, I got my first, I made my first pull request virtually on the same day. When I was setting up the project and I noticed the Django CMS dashboard does not respond to theme changes from dark theme to light theme to dark theme, and I was able to present a PR then. And the key lesson I learned in the program is to interact with people every time, show up, show out publicly, help. Nothing is too small to tell or to show people, and seek help too. So that was very helpful for me all through the program. But interestingly, I picked up a complex task when I interacted with other maintainers in the Django CMS ecosystem, and it was to adapt different image backends for the Django CMS picture plugins, which you serve like a template or a guide for other plugins in the Django CMS ecosystem, which is an ongoing work, and I will still continue it after the program. Then community contributions. I was able to work on the Djangonaut Space refreshed website. Hopefully that goes live soon and everybody will see it. And I recommend this program 100% for everyone who's interested in getting into open source and contributing to Django, or just being part of an amazing community. Thank you, everyone.
Next up is Victoria.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim. Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Nyamai from Team Venus. I was really happy and excited to be part of the deployment team because you're handling the Django Simple Deploy. When I first started out development in my life in university, it was quite easy to develop things on your machine. Then translating it to deployment really became a whole new concept. You're like, I'm not done, like there's more. So throughout my career, I've never really had to understand the deployment processes because I've entered into teams where these pipelines have already been preset. So it was really exciting to come and work on Django deployment and really understand what it actually takes to deploy an application once you've built it. So I started interacting with the Python Anywhere plugin, and that's the plugin I chose to work in during the Django Simple Deploy exercise. And one of the things that I realized is that deployment tends not to be very beginner friendly because there are, I wouldn't say this is a blame on Django itself, but there are different limitations put by different platforms depending on the tier that you pay for. And as a beginner, you may not be aware of such things. So for example, in the Python Anywhere plugin, which I was working on, things like outbound requests, maybe if you're working with third-party APIs, they might not work if you're on the free tier. And it may not be really common knowledge to every beginner who's working on it, but it might be something that someone who's been deploying for many years might be aware of. So that's the approach that I took when I was doing the project. So I decided that for my contribution, I wanted to create like a flag. Okay, we had an argument in our team, whether it's a flag or an argument or whatever you want to call it, but sort of adding sort of like free tier, which helps you if you're a beginner and maybe you're doing tutorials for beginners. If you add that flag in your command, it can be able to list down or explain certain functions or certain things that you expect might fail. For example, if we detect when you're deploying, there is some DNS configuration that needs to be done, and as a beginner, you didn't know that if you're on the free tier, it won't work. We just list DNS configuration won't work. So at least it helps you to be able to make the decision on, do you want to upgrade? Do you want to switch to a different platform? Or, do you want to rebuild your whole application again? So that was really it for me. And I'm really glad that I got to join the Django space because, first of all, the community, the kind of people that I met not only in my team, but also in my country that were in the Djangonaut space and I didn't know about. They were really helpful with their feedback, with pushing me to apply for things like talking in conventions and attending them. It's really been highlight for me. And also the knowledge sharing that is in the community where people are always happy to share resources, to share information that they have that could help you or someone else. It doesn't even have to be themselves. And I think I also like I'll call it the wins in the Discord. I really like seeing the different things that people are trying out. And I realized I'm not nerdy enough in life. I need to try out more things like crocheting and music. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
And next we have Brian.
Yeah, so hi everyone. This is Brian from part of the accessibility team. So my presentation will walk you through my journey in the Djangonaut Space contribution. So just to share a little bit of story, I've been a user for over 5 years now. And over that time, I've never got a chance to be able to contribute to any form of open source until 8 weeks ago when I heard about this program called Djangonaut Space. And that is where a normal Django user to be able to actually be part of the build of it. So that was one of my main goals when stepping into this program, move from using it to actually lessons that I was able to pick throughout the program. So I'm going to break them down into 3 main parts. As a first-time open source contributor, I learned that there's a huge difference between just working in a solo repo to a world-class repository like the Django repository. So I learned that the little things such as the full stops, the white spaces really matter. The reviews, they are not just form of critique, but it's also the way that you actually learn something. Okay, and then rattling through the bugs. Like some things might seem small, but if you don't have that resilience, it's going to be hard for you to be able to push through the program. So it really taught me to be resilient throughout the program, and also the technical side of it. I was able to learn the small little things do matter, and also shout out to my navigators and captains for being amazing people and being able to guide me through the program, writing for me amazing reviews, and actually getting my first PR merged. That was last week. So I'm really happy about that. And then lastly, what I've been able to learn is that I just thought that, okay, this is just another program, but it turns out it's more than just an 8-week program for open source contribution. I'll be able to get a lot of mentorship for my captains and navigators. That is something that I never thought I'm going to get from this program. And I'll be able to move from just a normal user to a confident open source contributor. So my call for today from anybody here, and also the message to anyone out who is looking forward to join this program, is that you can actually team that is actually building the great framework Django.
And next we have James.
Okay, hello everyone. Wherever you are in the world, I'm James. I'm from Thailand. Even though right now I'm in the UK for a while, but I'm originated from Thailand. So if you don't know about Thailand, Thailand is a small country in Southeast Asia. If you can imagine, Japan on the right side, and then Europe right now is on the left side, and Thailand is on the middle, bottom of the world, if you can be. It's really lovely place to visit for tourists and stuff. And I'm the Djangonauts for this station in Southern team, and we are the focusing on the Django web framework. And to be honest, to share with you at first, I joined here and then I expected that it's gonna be really really technical hard, challenging and coding things, and then people will do the stuff trying to contribute a lot of code, we are going to write ton of line of code, but yeah, it is. And I'm I still write a line of code, several line of code, but this is not about only the technical stuff. In reality, when contributing to especially the large code base like Django or any open sources, we have to not only do technical, we have to discuss. And I still remember my first PR that I was discussing for a whole week. And it it was endless. And I feel oh wow, okay, how long could it be to end this PR? But thank to my team, especially my navigator, my captain, and my teammate to cheering me up and then helping me to get through this one. Yeah, and another reality is it's really confused at first, because we're not talking about a small project. The Django has been there for over, I'm not sure, years. So just to edit or do some modification on a single function in the code is really confused, because you have to trace back to the lower layer again and again and again, and yeah, you get some confusion back then. But it's really really helpful, and it's really learnable experience, because the main thing that I have learned a lot from this one is you have to, you have to be consistent and focused. I still remember that I dedicate an hour, 30 minutes to an hour every day to do the task. And the first 3 days is really, really just I standing at my monitor, and I didn't know how to do or how to go further. But I keep doing that, and then 30 minutes pass, I close the door, I close the monitor, get back here again next day, keep standing again, and then I don't know, keep talking with people, and then out of my mind, I feel yeah, we can do this, we can do that. And yeah, I managed to get my first PR got merged at the second week of the program. and like it's just a small like change, but like it's made me proud because like there were like over like 20 discussion, 10 or 20, I forgot. And yeah, like it walked me through the whole large code base of the Django, and I feel like yeah, that is how it should work. And yeah, like that first PR is facilitate me to the second PR. Like even though it's still challenging, but like because of the experience again, I feel like yeah, I feel comfortable more to do and deep dive into the single course bit. Right now, my second PR is still under like reviewing, and I hope that is gonna be merged or it's gonna be like accept like very soon. And yeah, like I really want to like thank you like everyone, especially for the organizer who hold this up, like my teammate and like author Djangonaut and my navigator as well, or like my reviewer if you are here. Like I really appreciate like how patient you are to to review my PR and then to give me the really useful comment. And yeah, I hope that like I can see you in the next station as the author role if you have the author role for me to contribute to the Djangonaut. Let's see what's gonna be. And yeah, for someone or anyone, if we don't connect yet, like please see me in LinkedIn. You can scan the QR code, or like we can, ping in the chat as well. Like I will be here in the Django Discord later as well. So that's all for my side. Thank you, everyone.
And next is Jan.
All right, so let's talk about Djangonaut Session 6. Quick recap about myself. I'm full stack developer, freelancing. My pronouns he, him. These are my emojis. I'm sure you're all well aware. Do a bunch of yoga, love bouldering, gaming, Lego, love my dog, love my wife. The ordering, since this is being recorded, is in reverse if my wife ever sees this. What I did, part one, as expected, still absolutely great and very happy about it. So I published a plugin for Django Simple Deploy, which is about simplifying deployment of any Django app to any VPS. So absolutely happy about that, but kind of also what I really wanted to do and what I expected to do. Then what I did, part 1.5, kind of saw this coming. So still super happy about this as well. I did a lightning talk at DjangoCon EU last week about this plugin. So yeah, super exciting. It was my first DjangoCon and was really happy to be able to present something there and had some great conversations afterwards. But to be honest, this is also something I did put into my application. Like I was like, maybe I have an idea and I could give a talk. So yeah, super happy about this, but also kind of saw this coming. Now, what I did part two, did really not expect this, to be honest. So this is really great. So it started with me registering a Fostodon account. I think Eric kind of had one, and we talked about it, and he announced, I think, another plugin on there, and then I thought, yeah, maybe I should do that as well, give it a try. And yeah, I was that kind of led me down this whole path where I then also decided to publish an intro video for the plugin that I did. And this is really something I never did before. So I do already have some open source projects, and they kind of found some audience, but I never actually really advertised for it or even made it known in a more active way. And so here there's a whole side quest in here about me really struggling with this. So since this was the first time I recorded myself to be published online, I was really unsatisfied with the voice quality and yeah, just I don't know, just the overall process. And so there, yeah, many things were really helpful, and I wanted to share this with you. So one thing was that at some point I discussed this with Sean, who's the navigator on our team, and and I was really, I think I was kind of at a place where I felt a little down because I had published this great plugin, but now I felt like I didn't even tell anybody about it. Um, but this was also kind of putting then pressure on me to release something, but I also didn't feel good about the quality of what I was doing. And I started to get into this uh, overthinking loop, really, where I was then contemplating, should it be a 90-second video? Or should it be maybe a 5-minute one? Should I start my own YouTube channel? I mean, it's really funny now, but I was really struggling. And Sean really helped me to gain some perspective on this. And he was like, well, first he was like, isn't it kind of funny? You published a plugin for simple deploy, and what you're missing now is is a simple deploy for the intro video. So I thought that was funny, and also he was like, you know, maybe you're overthinking it a little bit, and maybe we just don't know, like, is the video gonna be super helpful? Does it have to be 90 seconds? Does it have to be 5 minutes? Does it have to be on YouTube? And then I think this kind of mindset really works for me anyway, just this kind of experimental mindset. And once I adopted this, I think it worked much better then. It still took me, I think, definitely a day to just cut down 12 minutes of me talking to 90 seconds. But I got it out there, and I'm really happy about it. And I think I'm gonna keep doing this with future things I develop. Yeah, so that was definitely totally unexpected. So this is a little screenshot of the video. And I'm very open to talk about this. If you want to approach me later on how I did this and everything, I can share some details about the technical setup also. And then what I would also like to mention, some very honorable mentions. So I already said it was very helpful to have one-on-ones with Sean. I also tried to have one-on-ones with the team overall from time to time. And that was also, yeah, just super helpful for me to stay engaged, get feedback, and also get other people's perspective, yeah, on the things that we are working on here. Yeah, so yeah, maybe for bonus points, this is definitely something worth doing, I think. Yeah, and that's it already. So I'd love to keep working on this. I'd love to stay in touch. So reach out on Fostodon now, of course. And if you haven't, please check out the plugin, check out the video. Once the video of the lightning talk gets online, I'll share that, of course, as well. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Next, we have Vui.
Hi everyone, my name is Vui Nguyen, and I had a chance to work on the Beware project on Team Mercury. And I'm here to talk about how my Python interpreter got effed up. So this is what I'm going to cover in my talk today. I had a dream for working on a Djangonaut space program that had to be diverted because of a bug that I encountered. So I'm going to talk about how that bug happened, what I did to fix it. I'll share some takeaways from my experience and share any resources, which, by the way, I will share these slides later for anybody that wants them. So when I began the Djangonaut Space program, my dream was I was hoping that by the end, I would be able to have at least several PRs merged into the Beware codebase. But the reality was, while I was going through the Beware tutorial, I ended up discovering a major issue that would take weeks to solve. And what ended up happening was, while following the Beware tutorial, I was trying to launch the tutorial app in the iOS simulator, and the simulator came up, but the tutorial app failed to launch. So what happened? It turned out that the Beware scripts that were used to launch the app in the iOS simulator was calling the Python interpreter, which was designed for an x86 Mac, except I was running on an Apple Silicon machine. So now we're digging deeper and you're like, well, how did that happen? Well, it turns out that when I had upgraded my Mac to an Apple Silicon, I ported all the data over, including the Python interpreter. And even when I upgraded my Python interpreter later, it kept the same architecture. So basically, my Python interpreter was effed up. So how did I end up fixing this? Well, it turns out I had to remove all instances of Python from my Mac, and this was not an easy thing to do because, there are aliases and symlinks all over the place. So once I finally was able to do that and start over with a clean slate, then I installed the Apple Silicon version of Python onto my Mac. And finally, I added a check to the Beware code base to flag the existence of an x86 Python running on Apple Silicon machine so that this problem won't happen for anybody else in the future. Then after I did all that, finally I was able to run the tutorial app in the iOS simulator. So yay! So obviously this was not a trivial thing. It took weeks of work and a lot of collaboration with my team members on Team Mercury on Beware to help me discover the bug, diagnose what was the root cause of the bug. Then I had to create an issue and document everything that happened. Then finally I had to fix the issue, submit a PR, and get the PR merged. So some other takeaways I learned from this experience was sometimes you plan on solving one type of problem and then you end up solving a different problem. But the important thing is that you're solving problems. It doesn't matter how big or small they are. It's not about how many PRs you've merged because when you solve a problem, you might be helping someone else that could experience the same problem. And other takeaways I learned from the Djangonaut Space program is what's important is how much you learn from this experience, the experience of team collaboration and learning how to document things well, learning how to communicate what's going on with your team members. And it's also important to submit whatever work you have in progress. You don't have to have your PR completely done before you submit it for review, and draft PRs are totally okay. And here's some resources for anyone that's interested in following up on this. There's a link to my PR, and I have some links that I use to help me figure out how to uninstall and reinstall Python. And again, I'll share a link to these slides a little bit later. And finally, I want to give a big thank you to the Djangonaut Space program for this incredible experience. And I want to thank Team Mercury, our navigator, Kanin, was amazing, and Captain Johannan, and also my fellow Djangonauts, Scott and Juan. So thank you all for this amazing experience.
Thank you, Vui. And thank you, everyone, all the Djangonauts who presented. That is it for session 6. We will see you next session.